Okay, I'm speaking with senior state economist Jim Robinson. Jim, your new macro report is out for the period ending in June. I was just going over the numbers here, and a couple of concerns, but still looks pretty good overall. Am I right?
Yeah, I think so. One of the things that stands out to me is that the job market in Wyoming continues to improve. We've got 10 consecutive months of year-over-year job growth as of May 2018, so that's certainly a positive number. And the personal income as well, both the yearly and the quarterly numbers are showing increases compared to either last quarter or a year ago. So I think there's some good trends there for the state.
Now, looking at the sales tax revenues, and of course, the end of June, that gets us through fiscal year 2018, final collections for the fiscal year, showing a pretty healthy increase statewide. Is that right?
Yeah, that was a pretty good increase, a little more than $100 million compared to fiscal 2017. And if you dig into the numbers a little bit, you'll see that most of the counties improve. And if you take a look at the industries in Wyoming, most of those industries improve as well. So, the recovery was for the most part broad-based across different parts of Wyoming, but also across different industries as well.
Now, one concern in the report, just looking at this as a layman, I see that drilling activity was lagging a little bit as of the end of June. Is that right?
Well, it's kind of an interesting situation, and I think it's typical of where we find the oil and gas market right now, not just in Wyoming, but for the U.S., is that part of the recovery in that part of the energy market, companies had to become more efficient. And so what we're seeing is that we're noticing, at least in Wyoming, we have increase in natural gas production and also oil production compared to last year. But the recovery numbers in terms of oil and gas jobs or the number of rigs, it's just been kind of a very modest recovery. The oil and gas jobs, for the most part, has not changed in the last 3 or 4 months in the state. And I think that has to do with the efficiencies that you see now in that industry. There's a lot more automation. Jobs that we had 4 or 5 years ago in that industry are not there anymore.
So can we safely assume we'll never reach that level in terms of oil and gas jobs in the state, or is that not necessarily true?
I would think that we're still going to see, as long as there is, the crude oil price stays, it's kind of in that $60 to $70 range there. We're probably going to still see more production at least, and probably a little bit more rig counts, but probably not to the extent that we used to see, just because of what we talked about already in terms of the change in the way that they do business in the industry now. The efficiencies, the automation have really are playing a bigger role in trying to curtail cost, and so that's the impact for Wyoming at least is going to be in terms of the oil and gas jobs, and the rig counts are just not going to be quite the same numbers that we saw 4 or 5 years ago. But I think to counterbalance that, the revenues to the state will still be there because they're tied in directly to the production. And so as long as we have more production and we have the better prices for those products, that means that those revenues come into the state, whether they're a royalty or a severance tax, they're still going to be there.
Now, for our listeners and our affiliates in Casper did see some nice job growth over the past year.
Yeah, that's something that has been showing up for probably the last 4 or 5 months. Is that the year-over-year change there for their jobs has been improving, and so whereas for Cheyenne, it's been for the most part just about the same. I think a couple of months ago when I checked it was just maybe a little bit less than a year ago. I mean, not much. And with the May numbers now for Cheyenne, Laramie County, it's just about even.
So, Jim, taking this report as a whole, how would you kind of summarize it and wrap it all up?
I think I think what we are, I think what's showing up in the report for the most part is that there's a lot of recovery now that has taken place in Wyoming. Because of the improving, for the most part, the improving crude oil prices, and I think that's brought the state back quite a ways from where it was, I say, a year and a half ago. And so I think we're kind of embarking on that next stage, whatever that's going to be. Is it going to be more oil and gas activity? Is it going to be other industries expanding? that remains to be seen.
Okay, Jim, that's all I have. Anything else you'd like to mention?
I think that's all I got, Doug.
Appreciate your time this morning.
You bet, Doug. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.